Who that nation? We are officially a week away from the Super Bowl, and it should be a good one between the Seahawks and the Patriots. But there's still a lot of news going on with the Saints, and I got to talk about it. A lot of free agents for the Saints are set to be up on the market, and we got to talk about who they should bring back and who they should possibly let go in free agency this offseason. And we have some breaking news as well. The Saints are set to play against the Browns next season in Paris, which is pretty interesting. So I got to break that down as well. This is the Saints Roundtable. Let's get to it. All right, so free agency is set to start in a couple weeks after the Super Bowl, and there's a lot of key free agents that the Saints have coming up in this offseason, and I'll bring them up, starting with cornerback Alontae Taylor, linebacker Demario Davis, defensive end Cam Jordan, tight end Taysom Hill, and tight end Foster Moreau. And those are a couple of key players that the Saints are possibly going to lose in this free agency. Starting with Alontae Taylor, he's set to get a 3-year deal for just about over $33 million from a lot of teams. He already has a lot of suitors. The Rams are reportedly linked to him. The Seahawks, ironically, are reportedly linked to him as well, because although they have a lot of great players on their defense, but they have a couple of guys in the secondary after the Super Bowl, whether they win or not, that possibly may not be in the team anymore because Rick Woolen is up on his contract, and another corner as well is also set to hit the open market as well. So possibly Alontae Taylor could be a replacement for the possible Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks. So that's interesting. And like I said, the Rams needed a lot of help in the cornerback position, because in that last game against the Seahawks, they could not cover anybody, and the secondary got exposed. So they're going to go out there and look for a corner. So he's linked to those two teams, and there's a lot of other suitors that could use cornerback help as well. So it's going to be interesting what happens there. But here's the thing. The Saints, they have another guy that could possibly replace him, and Quincy Riley. Quincy Riley had a really good year, rookie out of Louisville, and had a really good year for the Saints. But the question is he ready to get the spotlight and be the possible number 1 or number 2 corner, depending on what you think about him and Cooley McKinstry. But yeah, it's a lot of pressure to put a second-year guy as a starting corner to possibly cover some of the best receivers in the league. And we'll see what happens, because, I would love to have Alontae Taylor back. He's a really good corner. He can get exposed a bit in coverage, I will admit that, but he's a good tackler. He's athletic, and he's young. He's still only 27 years old, and he's a really good player. But if you're gonna have to overpay him for over $33 million and possibly go to 36 or something like that, and pay him a lot, I think you just got to let him go, because look, Quincy Riley is still very young, as I said, very raw. The potential's there. He played very well in the second half of the season once he started getting more snaps in Brandon Staley's system and his defense. And yeah, I think you got to let Alontae Taylor go and give the keys to Quincy Riley. This is a young Saints team, as we know, and you have to get these opportunities to these young guys and let them learn on the job. And possibly the Saints could draft another corner in this draft, maybe like in the second or third round, depending on what they do with their first round pick. But yeah, they can possibly get another corner to back up Cooley McKinstry and possibly Quincy Riley if he's the starting corner, if they don't bring Alontae Taylor back. So yeah, I think right here you got to let Taylor go. We loved him here in New Orleans. He had his flashes, but it was just inconsistency. Like, as I said, with the coverage issues, and he had his bright spots where he was a very good shutdown corner. But at that price range, I just don't think he's going to come back. And as I said, a lot of other teams are linked to him as we speak, and he's going to be a high commodity for whoever wants to pay him. And next one is Demario Davis, linebacker. We love Demario as Saints fans, and he's been a very consistent guy, tackler, always been tops in tackles on this team ever since he came here a couple years ago from the Jets, and he's getting up there in age, man. He's going to be 37 years old next year, but he's still very productive. But I think it's time to move on as well. Pete Warner is still very good at linebacker, and they have a couple of other guys that are starting to get better. Young guys that want to step up at linebacker. So I think, yeah, you gotta let Demario Davis go too, man. I hate to see it, but you can possibly get another linebacker in this draft, and I think it's just time to go young and just move on and start a new era of Saints football on the defense, because yeah, they're still very young, as full of young players, but you have your veterans there that are just a little long in the tooth, and I think it's time to just let Demario go. And I'm wishing him the best of luck wherever he goes. He's still a very high productive tackler and good coverage guy at linebacker. But yeah, I hate to say it. We love him here in New Orleans, but Demario, it's time for you to go, man. It's time for a new linebacker to start take over as the linebacker next to Pete Warner. And Cam Jordan, defensive end. This is the guy I think the Saints should bring back, because they still need a vet and that young defensive line along Brian Bresee and Carl Granderson, and still a relatively young Chase Young, although he's going to be, I believe, 30 to 31 next year. I don't know exactly, but he's going to be somewhere in the early 30s of age range. But Cam Jordan's still pretty productive, man. Although you can argue he's a bit of a slow starter now, because it takes him a little longer because of his age now, and it was looking like it was going to be the end for him in New Orleans as last couple of weeks, because he was starting to bring his family a lot more to games, and on that final home game, there was a lot of hints that it was possibly his last game in New Orleans as a Saint. But there has been news recently where he said that he possibly would love to come back if the two sides can agree on a deal that fits him financially and also fits the team as well, and they can find a way to work things out. And he would love to come back, but it's all depends on the negotiations here, and we'll see how it goes. But he sees what we're seeing as Saints fans, that there's possibly a good young core that can possibly be something special going forward, and he would like to be a part of it. So we'll see what him and Mickey Loomis can figure out when it comes to negotiations. But yeah, I think you got to bring him back, because first of all, he's the leader of this defensive line and leader of this overall defense. He still need that vet in there, and he's gonna go down as one of the greatest Saints players to ever play here in New Orleans. And I think he should be a lifer and retire a New Orleans Saint. And he's still very productive, as I said. And I just think, yeah, he's just one of those guys that you have to keep around. And he's the captain of this team and one of the leaders of this team. And I think you got to bring him back. So hopefully him and Mick Loomis can figure it out, and Cam Jordan can continue to be a Saint for the rest of his career. Moving on to Taysom Hill. This is an interesting one. There's a mixed bag about this one. There's a lot of Taysom fans. I'm one of them. But in terms of this new offense now with the Saints and Kellen Moore, I just don't think Kellen Moore really believes in the gadget plays using Taysom Hill as much as Sean Payton did, and as much as Pete Carmichael did when they were in charge of the offense last couple of years. And yeah, I just think Kellen Moore's just ready to move on and do something different. I don't think he really wants to use Taysom Hill as that gadget guy in the red zone and stuff like that. I think he sees that Tyler Shuck can be that guy, obviously as the quarterback, and he can be the gadget guy overall, because he can run the football and he can throw it. And Jawan Johnson has really come into his own at tight end, had a really good year this year, and definitely showed people that he can be a productive tight end, and he was definitely worth that 3-year contract extension he got in the last offseason. And yeah, I just think it's time for the Saints and Taysom Hill to go their separate ways as well. We love him here in New Orleans. We love the way he plays. He's one of the best gadget guys, probably the best gadget guy in the NFL, up there with Kyle Juszczyk over there in San Francisco. But yeah, I think it's time to move on. He was his contract last couple of years was a bit of a stranglehold on the salary cap, and I just think you got to let him go. So Taysom, we love you, brother. You're a fan favorite, as I said, but I just think it's time to move on. And last but not least, tight end Foster Moreau. And this was a tough one because a lot of people were excited when they signed him a couple years ago from the Raiders, and he came here, and Derek Carr was the quarterback, and you thought their connection was going to be awesome, and they were going to continue to do things here in New Orleans and put up big numbers, but he was just very inconsistent in terms of staying. First of all, he was not always healthy. He had a lot of health problems and a lot of injuries, and in terms of his production, he just never seemed to figure it out. Like, yeah, he had a couple of instances with Derek Carr, but Derek Carr really actually trusted Juwan Johnson, ironically more, when he came in right away as a Saints quarterback. And Foster Moreau just started losing snaps and losing confidence, and he just never was able to make his mark on this team. And especially now with a new quarterback and Tyler Shuck, and last couple of years they were trying to figure out after Derek Carr who's the next guy for the Saints as a future franchise quarterback. It just didn't work out for Foster Moreau, and he just never was able to get in the fold, and he's one for sure. I think you got to let him go. It's time for him to move on. He just never was able to make his mark on this team, and it's time for Foster Moreau to find somebody else, and hopefully he can rejuvenate his career and become a good tight end again with another team. But he just never was able to do it here in New Orleans. So to go over it again, Alontae Taylor, got to let him go. Demario Davis, got to let him go. Cameron Jordan, bring him back if they can figure out something on both sides. Taysom Hill, got to let him go. And Foster Moreau, got to let him go. It's tough to see these guys leave, but I think this is the best thing for the Saints to do heading into the new generation of Saints football going into next year and for the future. And we'll see if Mickey Loomis can hit another draft and possibly add some more young talent to this team and continue to do their thing as a good young core and possibly build the next Saints playoff contender, because the NFC South is wide open. It was not the best division this season, and the Saints are looking at possibly being a contender in this division next year. And I think it's time for a new regime of players to do that, and that's what it's going to be. So we'll see what they do, but that's what I think they should do. And coming up to close out the show, I'm going to talk about some breaking news. The Saints possibly are going to play an international game next year, and it should be a good one. And it makes a lot of sense as well. So I'll break it down. This is the Saints Roundtable. Stick and stay. All right, so to close it out, we have a bit of breaking news here. The Saints are set to play the Browns in Paris next season. The game will be in Stade de France, October 25th, 2026. And this is the first ever NFL game that's going to be played in Paris. This is pretty cool. The NFL has played a lot of games in London, of course, last couple of years. They've gone to Germany. They went to Ireland this year. The Steelers played over there, I believe, against the Vikings. They played the Vikings in Ireland. And the NFL is continuing to grow the game and get more teams to play overseas. They also play in Brazil as well. And it's pretty cool. And they're going to play their first ever game in France. And we'll see if there's a lot of French football fans out there that possibly want to get into the game and they're into the game. And this makes a lot of sense for the Saints because, of course, New Orleans is called the French Quarter, and there's a lot of French connections in the state of Louisiana and stuff like that. And the Saints were granted international marketing rights in Paris in 2023. So this is a great opportunity for them to go out there and possibly play well and impress a lot of people out there, sell merchandise, grow a fan base over there in France, and get some more viewership, and yeah, build this fan base even more. It's pretty cool, and it's gonna be interesting. And yeah, the Browns, uh, we'll see what they do. They have a Pro Bowl quarterback and and Shador Sanders. Although there's a lot of controversy there, I don't think he should be in the game, but it is what it is. The Pro Bowl is not what it was. It's a bit of a joke. I hate to say it, but it is. But he's in the Pro Bowl, and they possibly have their quarterback going into next year, at least for next year. And of course, they got Myles Garrett, the guy who's possibly going to win Defensive Player of the Year this year again in his career. Broke the NFL record in sacks, and he's a very good player. So there's some star power in this game. And of course, the Saints have Tyler Shough and Chris Olave and a couple of good players. So this should be a pretty good game. And yeah, it's a great opportunity for the NFL to keep growing their game all over the world. And yeah, it's gonna be pretty cool. So October 25th, be ready to wake up early and watch this game. I don't know exactly if it'll be in the morning or if it'll be a night game. I don't know exactly. We still gotta figure out all the details here. But as we speak, this is the breaking news that this game's gonna be played, and we'll get more detail going into the season, into next season, on how this will exactly work. But yeah, it's gonna be cool, and I look forward to watching this game. The Saints have played in London a couple of times. I remember against the Dolphins, they played there. They played in London. There was one game they played in the Vikings. That was a good one in London. And this is the first time the Saints are going to play in another country other than London. So it's going to be pretty cool. And the atmosphere is always cool whenever they played in London. It was always a packed house. They had the national anthem for both countries. It was pretty cool doing that. So seeing that again in France is going to be pretty cool. And France is starting to become a bit of a sports country. They had the Olympics there a couple years ago, and that was a big event for them. And yeah, people in France are starting to really get into sports, and now that football's gonna be out there, that's gonna be pretty awesome. So that's gonna be pretty cool, and that's gonna be an event, and I look forward to it, and I hope you guys do too. And to close it out, I hope you guys enjoy the Super Bowl. This is going to be a good game between the Seahawks and the Patriots, although a lot of people are saying that's possibly going to be a blowout because the Seahawks are the much better team, and I'm kind of in that house as well. I think that the Seahawks are just too good. They're just very talented, and the Patriots are. You can argue. I think it is that they've been given the ultimate carpet ride to the Super Bowl. They played Justin Herbert with no offensive line and destroyed him. They played C.J. Stroud, and C.J. Stroud was absolutely awful, and he gave them a lot of turnovers, and the Patriots were able to beat them, and get to the AFC Championship game, where they played a Bo Nix-less Broncos team, and they played the backup quarterback Jarrett Stidham in a snowstorm, and nobody could throw the football in that weather. And once the Patriots were up 10-7, it was pretty much a wrap because nobody can play football in that weather. It was absolutely ridiculous. But they're in the game, and good for them, the Patriots and their fans. But I just think the Seahawks are gonna do their thing and go in there and establish business. And it's a great story for Sam Darnold, man. Sam Darnold has been a quarterback who's had a lot of scrutiny on him ever since he came into the league, and he's bounced from team to team, but he's finally figured out the situation that fits for him, and ever since he signed with the Seahawks and did his thing being on this team, he just is continuing to produce, and he played very well in that last game against the Rams, and this is possibly going to be a chance for him to win the championship. And yeah, great for Sam, great for the Seahawks, and yeah, I think they're going to win this. So enjoy the game. Hopefully it's a good game. We'll see. But from what I think, a lot of people are saying, yep, it's possibly going to be a blowout for the Seahawks. And with that, I'm Alberto Lucero. This was the Saints Roundtable. I'll see you guys next week.